go.
Okay.
It says it's recording. Is it?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is.
And it'll automatically at the end, once we close it out, it'll show that it's whatever.
Good idea.
Well,
Creating the file. It takes a while, but you can just leave it and then it'll dump it onto
do
your
I have to do anything?
Nope.
Nope. You're just on. Before, we have about a half hour, probably about 20 minutes. I think I can with my computer. Aunt Mary, I want to walk you through the house because I want you to see. I have Aunt Peggy's painting of Black Mountain of the deep.
Oh.
In fact, we could do that now. And then I want to show you my garden because it's in great shape.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Do you want to see a few things? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be fun.
Okay. Now this will be super awkward, but let's see what we can do here. So this is my office. This is where I write the.
Oh.
And
This is where the magic happens. Oh, you have a nice view.
Well, yeah, pretty good. They're building behind me now, so that's not so great.
Oh.
I see that the sun is kind of blinding you. But I'm going to do this. So I hope this doesn't make you too seasick because we got to go downstairs.
I'm okay.
But let's try it. Okay. So let's see. So I'm looking downstairs.
Oh.
So we've got
That's
books
nice.
and stuff.
I see the mantle.
Yeah, the mantle. And here, hanging on the stairwell, those are silk handkerchiefs that were my father-in-law, I'm sorry, my husband's father, my father-in-law, was a navigator, World War II and forward. And when you were navigating those he was with the Air Force, those big planes, they issued these, that's what's behind me. That is actually a handkerchief. So they issued you a handkerchief with the exact topography of the continent you were flying over and the sea, so that if you had to bail out, you had a map. Silk, and therefore would survive with you, and you carried it on your person, and then you could use this map to get yourself home.
Wow.
So isn't that like the coolest thing you've ever heard of? And he had them in a drawer, like they're perfect.
And they're beautiful.
They're absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And that's like a fairly recent thing we just found. All right, I'm just walking us down.
Wow.
So now here, so they're up there, there's Mom's big train quilt. That's the big one. It looks tiny in the computer. Oh, let me see if there we go. Come here, Amanda. Hang on one second. I'm not good at this. There, tilt and go this way. So there's Mom's big, that's the railroad, the train going from Old Depot, from Old Fort to Black Mountain, right? That's her masterpiece. And in the same room over here, here is Peggy's. Here's Peggy's painting of the depot, remember?
Oh, yeah.
With that wonderful little dog standing there. I just adore this painting. So, and that's before they painted it. We've all been back and now they've painted it all yellow. And, it's cute, but it doesn't look like it used to. It used to look just like that, which is so great. And then the other piece that I have of Mom's, so now we're in the dining room. And there's Mom's other little quilt, which is the one of Old Fort, where it's the title of that piece is "Where Have All the Fabrics Gone?" And it's about the closing of the textile mills in Old Fort. She got really militant about all that stuff, and she even went to Washington to march. Mom, who was so not political, went to Washington to protest the closing of the mills. So, and then the other little pieces I have of hers, these little slices of North Carolina are her. I only have 2 of her rug hooking, but there's one, and that's Montreat. That's Graybeard up top, and then the church, and then
the Anderson Auditorium.
Yeah, Anderson Auditorium, and then our house is, I think, the red house. No, whatever the red is, but our house, and then the post office has the little flag, and then the gate at the bottom.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
I think the red one is Anderson Auditorium. It was a circle.
You're right. And above it is the inn. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's reversed in my picture, so it's confusing. Yeah. And then I'll just walk you quickly out to the garden. We're just going out to the garden, and then I'll go back upstairs so I can plug in. But I think of you all the time, Aunt Mary, because my garden has never, ever been better.
Oh, that's
Oh.
Can you see? Well, I can't see what you can see. Yes, you
Yeah.
can see.
I see the bushes and the fence.
So we just, the roses just are.
Oh, an
on-
arbor.
see. Oh, now I'm seeing some of it.
Are you seeing some of it? And can you see the little?
Can you
table
move it up a little bit?
up like that?
Or
No,
down.
the other way.
Yeah.
Which way?
There you go. Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So that's my little table where I write, and there's roses, and
Oh, that's really pretty.
isn't it
Oh,
good?
yeah.
It's not a Florida garden, but it's a very happy California garden.
Yeah.
It's just in its glory right now because it hasn't gotten super dry yet. And that's another little spot where I can sit.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not big, but it's filled up. And it has a feature you see all the time here, which is a dry creek, because, you know, it rains once a year, but when it does, it just pours.
Oh, uh-huh.
Have that. And I don't know whether you can, if that's clear, but over my, my little writing table, I have those roses that climb. Can you see
Oh.
those?
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
And that's what I look at from my writing window. I look down on that.
Oh,
So that works out great. And then the side, over on the side, my little happy little, I hope the sun doesn't blind us too much, but my happy little raised bed.
Oh.
And there's
Oh.
a little garden, there's a little nook where I can, this is where the shade is. So
mm-hmm.
that's about to get super hot.
Oh,
out.
that's nice.
Isn't that good? Oh, I mean, gardener to gardener, right? I had to show you. Not many people will get
Yeah.
into it like we do. So
Yeah.
I'm just walking up. So you guys talk.
Well, you have pleasant weather year round.
That's right. It's super.
Mhm.
Though it's very interesting. Right at this house, we're on the coastal edge, and so we get a chilly wind. For instance, I can't grow a tomato to save my life. It's actually a little bit chilly here, so we get good hot sun. But those vegetables that love a hot sun, no, they're forget it. I've
Yeah.
tried, but
Well, I just planted my carrots this morning. I got a frame for a raised bed, which I've never done before. We just got some dirt and dumped it in there, and
yeah.
I planted some like tomatoes and stuff and basil, and it's finally starting to poke its head up. But
Isn't
I'm
that
hoping I can grow
thrilling?
something.
I'm closing the
Yeah.
door. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so glad I could show you all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot of Monterey in this house.
All right. Yeah.
Mom has been very nice about that. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? So I'm just picking my own brain. I'll stop in a sec. But you know what, Aunt Mary, Margaret and I went back and forth because I'm still just nosing around in the archive, and we were wondering about Miss Airy.
Yeah.
But also Margaret you showed me, and maybe you had showed me before, Margaret, but I just didn't focus. The family that raised Betty, Grandma, your mother, you know, the two women, Happy and what was their Blanton?
Miss
Blanton.
Happy and
Mama Blanton.
And Mama.
Mom.
What do you remember of them, if anything, Mary?
Well, I never knew that was part of her childhood.
So they were gone by the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just that she never talked about her mother. She talked about them. And I think grandmother was too busy with Uncle John and Uncle Bill, two little boys. And see, they were maybe, I don't know how many years younger, but they were younger.
But I saw that I found a census from when they were living in Virginia, and I think it was Craigsville, and the Blantons were living next door.
Uh-huh.
it showed them living next door.
Uh-huh.
And so they were, I guess, neighbors, and that's how they got to be close. And
our grandmother, your mom, the Blantons took care of her there in Virginia. They weren't part of the Florida story.
No.
Okay. Well, so you see, what's interesting is my mother's story about the Blantons was that Betty was farmed off. That was the word my mother used. My mother felt that her mother was really damaged by that. Now, you guys are saying that was a good experience, that she loved those Blanton ladies.
Yeah, but my grandmother, when I'd go to Montreat, it was Granddaddy who would tell us bedtime stories and do things with us. Whereas grandmother was just this little old lady that sat on the front porch and would call to the vegetable lady when they went by so she could get some vegetables. But I didn't feel any interaction with her at all.
So she felt like the kind of woman who might have handed a child off to the neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that Uncle John doted on her. So, I mean, she was evidently very wrapped up in that. And I don't know about Uncle Bill because he died when he was in college. So I don't know.
Right.
But Uncle John was spoiled rotten.
Oh boy.
I mean, I don't know how Emma put up with him, but I think she was a college student and he was a professor. And I think there was that sort of looked up to him. Otherwise, I don't think any woman would have been able to put up with him because he was so spoiled.
Right. But where were Mun and Susie in this mix? Why weren't they raised by the Blantons?
Oh,
they were older, I guess.
They were older.
I see. So it was the fact that Betty was young and a handful, and she's got these young boys to handle, and so.
Yeah, I think it was the timing, because I think Grandma Betty was born in 1899, and then I'd have to check, but I think then there was John and Bill like pretty soon after. So because there's a picture, and I've been looking for that picture where.
Well, now Mun was a lot older, and Mother and Mun were very, very close.
Mun was like 8 years older than.
So Mun was like another mother to.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah. Well, that's.
I know that in later years, Daddy would always go to Montreat and fix all the things that needed to be fixed, doorknobs and whatevers. And
yeah, until he couldn't, right? Well, so that must have been a big deal for Betty when Mun went off to Cuba. She must really have missed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, she went down to Cuba. That's where they tried to get, and Daddy followed her.
I love that story.
And they couldn't get married in Cuba, so they came back on the boat and to Key West and got married there.
What? Just tell me all that. So Mun was okay with Grandpa, right? Thought he was okay, and.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's a cool thing. Now, why did Mom told the story that Betty was sent, or that the family didn't want her to marry Grandpa?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, he didn't have an education for one.
Oh.
Only an 8th grade education. His mother didn't care about education. Now, Uncle Albert, the youngest, Aunt Lucy sent him off to college and all. But his mother didn't care anything about it all. And Daddy went out to work when he was in 8th grade.
It's amazing.
I love that guy. He was one heck of a one. Didn't you feel that, Margaret? I mean, what a great grandpa. So, you know.
Well, he educated himself.
Right.
I mean, to be a manager of an office and all the bookwork and all that. He.
Right. So he didn't look like good marriageable material for your mother, according to her family.
Yeah.
But then God bless Mun, right? I mean, she just feels like this person who really was, you know, to use the cliche, practiced what she preached. I mean, she was really loving and accepting, and, you know, you'd have to be with that kooky family. And there she is in Cuba. I mean, all these light bulbs went on about how long she was there, and just all very interesting. Very, very.
And it was good that she had Miss Airy. They were friends for life. I mean, they were really.
Right. So I found Miss Airy's gravestone. We got a little more. Hey, how are you?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
A little more information. Hey, I'm good. You guys doing, obviously, you look like you're thriving. It's wonderful.
Oh,
We're doing all
maybe
right.
I shouldn't get near her since she.
No, I'm fine. I'm much better.
Okay.
I've had a sore throat the past couple of days, but it's allergies. I'm fine now.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
getting a lot better now.
So we're just doing that, right?
Yeah.
Our masks. Yeah. So we're just, of course, we're just blabbing family. What else? I can't get enough of it. I just can't. Yeah, so wait, let me just backtrack. So the Blantons was a good thing for your mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad, and I think that's so interesting that my mother reversed it. I mean, lots of stories that I have.
Well, what did she say about the Blantons?
Well, Mom always felt, well, let me get this in context here. Betty was to us was a little harsh. I mean, I always tell this story, but when she would look after us, you know, like for probably
she was definitely the school teacher.
Taskmaster.
Right, and also a bit. So
and I didn't always get along with my mother until she got in her 80s and was more dependent on me, and she completely changed. She wasn't that way anymore.
You know what? Same with my mom. My mom,
oh, really?
Very later years, was a much softer person. We had to have a couple of, especially when she was quite ill, you know, we had to have a couple of like, Mom, you got to cut that out now. And then she did. Mm-hmm. But I learned about my mother, which may be something that was true about Betty too, is my mother's harshness, at least with us kids. And by harsh, I just mean she was never ever mean to us. She was super supportive, but not always warm. Oh, good. I'm just getting a little message from Zoom. So not always warm. But Mom, when she wasn't warm, it's because she really couldn't bear the thought of her kids being in pain or upset in any way. And that flipped into anger for Mom. She just couldn't handle it. It wasn't that she didn't feel for us. It's just that's what happened. And I wondered, you know, maybe that's what she was picking up from her mother. I always loved Betty, but you know, it's so easy. But she did seem harsh. She would come to the house, and this is what horrified us, for breakfast, which is a completely European and fabulous thing to do. She would take the old bread, I've told you this story, and put it in the tin until it was a crust, until it was a piece of stone. And for us, we were fed stone and grapefruit juice in the morning, which is so sour. It's like Dickens. It was, so I think my mother, in order to help us love her, would say, well, she had a harsh childhood. I think that's why she turned that Blanton story into a story about a child who wasn't quite loved enough as by her mother, and so she really didn't learn how. And she wasn't making all that up.
Yeah, well, your mother, I never felt close to. I tried to.
I can imagine. For me, I
thought she just, I thought she was ashamed of me because I was not outgoing and the way she was or anything.
Right. Well, you had the unfortunate role of being the sibling where the siblings are always like overreactive to each other. But she's a person I had to understand before I could before things warmed up. It wasn't just a simpatico, you know. Yeah, mom was a prickly person and perhaps very much like her mother. I don't know. I mean, they were both.
And in recent years, I wondered if maybe part of it was I was so close to Daddy, and that may have been
Sure, that old jealousy. You know, everybody's fighting for Dad. Absolutely, yeah.
because she was just 11 months younger.
Yeah. Yeah, and filled with, you know, and in your guys' generation, nobody talked about anything, so God only knows what was going on. But I'm so crazy fond of everybody now. I just can't stop thinking about, I go back and wish I could chat with all those people again, including my mom. Like, Mom, come on, let's have a glass of white wine and, you know, let's have a good talk about all this.
Can I try to share a screen?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to try this.
Fun.
I'm going to try a picture. So can you see that?
Oh, yes. It's fantastic. I love this picture.
Tell
haven't
me who
ever
is in it, Margaret.
Okay, so so this is Aunt Frances, right?
Yeah.
On the left. And these are all sisters. One is actually a sister-in-law, but
And
so
there's Emma in the middle.
Yeah, Emma's sister-in-law.
Right.
But there's my grandma, Betty, and then that's Aunt Emma. That's Uncle John's wife. And then this is Aunt Susie.
Yep.
And then Margaret, Munn.
These are
Munn.
all sisters of your grandmother.
These are all
except
sisters.
For the sister-in-law.
She's the sister-in-law. So these were the sisters.
Yep.
And I remember when we visited Peggy, Norman and I got to visit Peggy and Ed and at De Vista. She told me she remembered the last time these four sisters got together and were in Munn's bedroom. Do you remember Munn's bedroom at De Vista?
Oh, for sure.
And that they were all sitting on that bed giggling and laughing.
As older women?
As older women, yeah. This was 1966. And I'd never met Frances. I didn't even know she was alive at this time. I knew Susie because she was living
I'm with you. If I met Frances, that's barely a memory, but
Frances always had to stay in Birmingham because Uncle John Bradley was in bad health. He had a heart condition. So Mother was chaperone for the two Bradley girls. They wanted to come to Montreat, so she would be chaperone for them.
And what were their names, the Bradley girls?
Beverly and Frances.
That's right. That's Beverly and Frances. Okay.
And
they were teenage dating, and they liked to come to Montreat.
Wow.
Let me try this. I've got a picture of them. Let me show them. No, it's not. Okay.
Now, Frances is in the middle. She's a real pretty one in the middle.
Yeah.
And Beverly's on the left. She's the dark haired.
Right.
And that's Peggy there.
Right.
Peggy's the one your cursor is near?
Yeah.
Yes, she's circling. And then we look at my mother. She looks so much like me. I have a picture of her where you can't tell the difference. Next time.
Really?
Yeah. Next time look at you, you sweetie. What a pretty, pretty girl. It's wonderful. With your grandmother up in the rocker, and John Henry. And who's the baby?
That's Susan.
That's Susan.
Okay.
Emma and Uncle John's daughter Susan, and then this is Uncle John's daughter Virginia.
Okay.
Can you remind me how Peggy fits in relation-wise?
These are all first cousins, and so
Peggy's Aunt
Peggy's
Susie's.
mother was Aunt Susie, who I'm gonna do a.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So
I'm
Peggy
gonna
was
stop
your
share, and I'm gonna share.
My cousin.
cousin. Okay.
So see if I can. Got so much going on here. Oh, where'd they go? I think I closed it.
Yeah.
But
I
you
was
can
curious
see
about
her.
her because she's one of the few of that generation that I've met.
Let me see if I can find.
Oh,
There they are again. Okay.
Yeah, while you're doing that, let me see if I can fetch this picture.
So can y'all see the two pictures?
Yes.
mhm.
So there's Frances and her daughter were Beverly and Frances.
Francis. Yeah.
Her two daughters,
Right.
Beverly and Frances. Here's Aunt Susie and her
Right.
daughter was Peggy.
Peggy.
And then John is Bradley.
Oh, okay. So he's a sibling of
Yeah.
Frances
That
and
helps.
Beverly.
I couldn't place him.
He was a year or two older than me.
Right.
And then, yeah, so there's Betty, her daughter.
There's Marion.
And
Yeah,
then
Yeah.
Anna
Yeah.
was wife of John, and that's her two girls. They're younger.
Right.
So that's how it all works.
Wow, that's how it all works.
They
And
left
here's this.
the
I'm just going to
maiden
hold up a picture here of.
Okay.
I think you guys can see that. That's coming off my bulletin board. But that
Oh.
could be me. It's my mother. But I look just like that at that age. It's
Oh, really?
kind of scary. Yeah. And she's
And-
with a Jeffers, one of the Jeffers, right?
I think that's probably Virginia, Mama.
Yeah.
Probably Virginia.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got the mom stamp.
I've never seen that picture.
I hadn't either. And that's the original. That's all I've got of that guy. Yeah. I mean, we've got to be on the porch of De Vista, yeah?
Yeah, but where
Yeah.
did you get that picture?
God only knows, Mary. I mean, there were, Mom had a drawer full of loose pictures. So it was in that drawer. And that's just true. I don't know where she got them. And they were all jumbled up. There were McTigues and Davises and nothing's labeled.
Well, maybe Uncle John took that, since that's one of his children, and
Good.
sent it to her.
Good thought. And it looks like they're making beads or something, which Mom continued to do. When Mom first see it looks like they've got like a trays full of something.
Yeah.
Right? Or gemstones. Before quilting, the trajectory that Mom went on was painting, abstract painting. Then that turned into collage work. But when she got into stuff in Montreat, the first thing she got into was, and God, do I remember this? She and the ladies at the craft shop got into trying to replicate a mineral glaze found on ancient Egyptian beads that created a certain blue color. And so they had our house. I remember a summer where our house was nothing but beads everywhere on every surface, all a slightly different blue, little tiny beads, which is so her. And later that turned into quilting, right?
I never understood why she went off to college and decided to major in medicine, of all things, and then she flunked all those things and did excellent in writing and creative things, which is what she should have done.
It is interesting. I feel like this was an artist. I look at that quilt down there, and I relate to the fact that the artist's work is, no one sees it. I mean, that was years of her standing, just like with the beads, all by herself. That's what you're right, Mary. That was her nature. It took her forever. It took, frankly, moving to Montreat to really click in and say, this is who I am. You know, I'm not some ornamental wife, and I have no gifts. I have visual gifts. Mom, you know, she was in a family full of gabby people who were, and sciencey people, right? So she's the outlier at the dining room table while we're all blah, 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 blah. But later in life, I remember there was some Christmas toy that was given that was the equivalent of a Rubik's Cube. And she, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, she just put it together like that. She had hyper acuity. She had this visual acuity thing that nobody tapped. You're completely right about that. It's interesting.
Well, I think about Aunt Susie making her ties and her business. I mean, she was the one who actually outsold a lot of the men, but then didn't get the reward because she was a woman.
Right.
But she saw, you know, that making the ties out of old fabrics and selling them.
That is such an untold story for so many women.
Well, that Uncle Bill who would go and sell ties during the Depression, that was fabulous.
So he
was one of the most charming people you could have ever met, though. I mean, he was just very charming.
So you remember him being around?
He carried me around on his shoulders.
Oh,
When I was little, and we would rub his head. Now, we were little to be on his shoulders. You know, we were 4 or 5, you know.
Yeah, but you have great memory back there.
Oh, yeah.
I love how much you remember. Listen, Aunt Mary, I can't tell you how many times I've told the story of you and Mom getting on the back of that truck with the...
And going to North Carolina.
Oh, my God! With the sleeping bags.
That was the most exciting adventure I ever went on.
And the bachelors, is that what they were called? The guys who would drive you up? The neighbors? Do you remember?
No, Mr. McKay, and
Was it Mr.
he
Camp?
had
Was it Buddy Camp? Or was it Mr. McKay or was it Buddy Camp?
well, I went up with Mr. McKay in the truck, but Buddy Camp, Buster Camp, used to take us in the old car, and he'd have a black man who worked for him who was in another car, and going to North Carolina, this kid ran out on the highway, and the other man hit the kid. So we had to spend the night in a hotel in Georgia, and these hotels were really something. And because he had to go to court. And that was so exciting. We'd never stayed in a hotel before. And you can imagine what kind of hotel in this little Georgia town. In those days, hotels were not all that much.
Wow.
On top of that, though, didn't you say you had neighbors or lived nearby, 4 men in a house, I want to say? Like,
oh, that was Daddy.
Okay. Oh, that was your father. Okay.
Daddy and these 3 other men lived in Dunellen. And then they all moved to Ocala, and they were friends for the rest of their lives. Buster Camp and Mr. McKay and Daddy and the superintendent of schools, Don Mann, lived in Dunellen.
Great. Okay, I had that confused. Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
Ladies, I may have to go eat before I become faint.
Oh, yeah, go eat.
I just
You've
got
been
back
working
from
all
work.
morning.
Haven't had lunch.
welcome.
You haven't had anything to eat.
Well, I had breakfast this morning, but that was quite a while ago. But in case you're gone, you may be gone by the time I get back. But it's great seeing you, Mandy.
Same.
And this is the first time I've seen your face, Ms. Eves, in I don't know how long.
I know.
So it's really good.
You've delivered things to me, but we haven't seen each other.
Mhm.
Well, this has been delightful. But you're looking like Kilroy. Every now and then, all I see is your nose above the edge of the screen.
Oh, depends on, yeah, there you go.
You can
You're
tilt
right. I don't know if you
This-
can tilt your screen, but
This
it's
chair is a little low.
She's got the big screen to.
yeah.
We need to get
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye, Norman.
Bye.
Hope we'll do this again.
Yep, yep,
We
yep, we
will.
will.
See ya.
Yeah, we need to get you a little pillow, Aunt Mary, so we can sit you up a little higher. Not right now. Nobody cares. I can see you just fine.
I should figure out how to make the seat come up because it's an office chair. It's just
Yeah.
that I haven't figured it out.
Okay.
But then your feet are dangling.
Yeah, I know.
No, but I can be up higher than this.
Well, and I put a box under my feet because there's no desk that's right for me. So I get the chair right for the desk, and then I've got this horrible little box under there for my.
How tall are you now?
I'm only 5'2".
Well, you're taller than I am then.
Right, I am now. You
Mhm.
not so much before, and as you and I know, as we all know, those women
Yeah.
in Betty's jet, those were teeny tiny ladies. Munn and Co. They were short but cute. My goodness, cute ladies. Wow. So, well, Margaret, we're just blabblating away.
That's fine.
All is well with you? And you have a bunch of great pictures. I don't know whether there are any others.
Do you want to see one more?
Sure, I love it.
Okay. I'm going to do this one. And then let's see, get that out of the way. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Okay, let me go back. I have to remember to click on share.
I have to learn how to do that. Ugh.
Oh,
Yep, I got that right on my desk. Love.
yeah.
Well, do I? Let me look.
Their mother's is with the dark kerchief.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's another one that's just the Davis siblings, but this has, I think these are the McNutts scattered.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the Blanton ladies, because
Is this in Virginia?
I'm guessing it is. It might even be Compostela, but I don't know. But I think it's in Virginia. I don't really know, but these are, I think, I saw some other pictures that identified the McNutts, because I think there's Granddaddy, and I think this is his sister.
Okay.
I think her name was Mary
Okay.
Davis McNutt. And then her children, I think, is this little one, this young lady, and then this young man.
Wow, handsome. Look at that Marcel. Uh-huh. And Betty?
Yeah, and there's Betty, and look, this McNutt cousin's got her arms like intertwined with Munn and with Betty.
Yeah,
So
that's Munn in the middle, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Munn. And I'm thinking this is Francis,
I think so.
and then Bill,
Wow. What a cutie pie he is.
and then there's Uncle
There's
John,
John without his eye.
and then Susie.
Oh, okay. Good for you, Margaret.
And
No. Look at the dress on the sister over there with all of the ruffles and the little,
Yeah.
this one,
yeah, and that's something. And Betty
Yeah.
got on the sailor look, which was a thing.
yeah, I think, and Francis has the wonderful two-tone shoes. I was trying to guess I'm guessing this is around 1918,
Uh-huh.
thereabouts. It's in
Uh-huh.
the teens, definitely. Maybe 1916. Just
Well,
looking at,
right,
I know.
because didn't Munn go in 1918? She did. She went to Cuba in 1918.
She got her passport in 1917.
Right,
So I think that's when she
17.
went.
right.
So it's hard to tell when.
So this
this-
might have been right before, which is
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think Frances is a little more fashionably dressed, and Munn's
Yes.
maybe a little more old fashioned,
yes.
by the way the skirt lengths are going.
And these sort of flouncy things with country look that went out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how about that gigantic bow tie on not Bill, but the yeah.
Oh,
cousin.
yeah.
Tell you what, he's dressed up.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, poor Uncle John with that eye. That's what I remember. Wow.
Uh-huh. He didn't let it hurt his ego any, though.
No.
But I think it was the ego of an injured person,
Mhm.
Amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know
So-
why I find these moments, these arrested moments, these snapshots, I just find them so compelling.
Oh, me too. I
Ah.
can just I look at all, I start getting into the details, like look at the shoes.
Indeed. And the little anklets. And
Look at the little girl's shoes.
yes, indeed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little Mary Janes and
Right. Right. And so listen, I just want to tell you that it's beginning to tell me that we're going to have to start wrapping up,
okay.
but they gave us 10 extra minutes, which is so sweet. But we'll just keep going until if we get cut off, I love you both, and B, we're going to do this again. So,
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
but
Well,
let's
I
keep
think
going.
this is wonderful.
I do too. Yeah. And Mary, what do you, and then Margaret, I know you too had memories of Miss Airy, but Mary, what did you remember about Miss Airy, about Mun's friend?
Well, she was just such a gracious sort of person. I mean, and she always had her house open for all the Cuban students who came up to the States to go to college. They'd come and stay in her house until it was time to go into school.
Wow.
So she always had her house full of them or their parents.
That's awesome. Did the Airy family have a house in Montreat?
Well, she had her own house.
Oh.
Was it just down the road? Was it on Virginia? Do you remember Virginia Road? Was it near?
No, I think it was up above the lake someplace. I'm not sure where it was.
Okay, so a bit of a walk. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So she would have, but that must have been quite something to have a bunch of Cubans visiting in Montreal,
Yeah.
which is so.
She kept her contacts with those people, the school that she and Mon had taught in.
That's great.
I think she stayed on and taught there. I think Mon came back to take care of grandmother and granddaddy.
Right.
And I think Miss Airy stayed in Cuba longer. So she had more recent contacts with those families.
I see. What an admirable person. I just find hearing their stories, Miss Airy and Mun, is so stirring to me, because you had to be brave to be a woman doing that, and you had to be brave to be an unmarried woman doing that, and then, championing Cuban people. It's great.
Yeah.
Really great.
And she was such a charming person. I was surprised that she'd never married, because she was just.
Yeah. Well, neither of them did, which I just understand. I mean, that was shocking then, but now I so understand it for whatever reason. They had this life of adventure, more like a man's life than a woman's life.
Yeah.
And what man's going to trail along with them? Nobody. Right? And who needs it? I mean, why would you want to cook and mess with a guy when you've got a career, basically? Right? Never mind that they
were a career in a foreign country. I mean,
right. Well, so the little bit that I dug up about Miss Airy and Margaret, I don't know whether that was new or not, but seeing that her family was a very, very religious family, and she was noted as a missionary, by that family in the Statesville area.
Uh-huh.
So there's some documentation about her family, and they mention her as going in a line of, just like our family, preachers and teachers.
Oh, uh-huh.
Mentioned as going to Cuba.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wish I had better memory of Miss Airy. I love that, because Munn was also a gracious and just a wonderful person, so that she had such a good friend is great. I also saw there was a little article in the Statesville, whatever that Statesville paper was, Margaret, that mentioned Miss Airy driving her mother to visit Montreat, which made me think, well, that must have been a period when she didn't live there full time. So, but being with the church, it would be typical to be coming in and out of Montreat, for meetings.
Yeah, well, the fact that she was a missionary meant that was the center of the Southern Presbyterian Church, Montreat. So
right. And reading about, and there's a book out here. I cannot get a hold of this book. As far as I can tell, it's only at the Stanford Library, and I don't yet have privileges where I can get a book out of the Stanford Library, and now with COVID. But it looks like it goes into how the Presbyterian Church, the North and the South, divided up Cuba, and what was going on in establishing the early.
Well, now, is Stanford a Presbyterian school, or was it?
No, it's not. So, but I think maybe the author was an alumnus. I don't know why this book ended up there. It's a study of this topic. So,
But Mandy, there's also here in Atlanta, you know how they used to have the Presbyterian Historical Society in Montreat? They still have it there, but they used to have a lot of the archives there. But they moved most of those to the Columbia Seminary here near Atlanta in Decatur, Georgia. And I kept thinking, I need to get over there. Never did get over there. But I had been able, and I'll have to dig around and see if I can find them. I know I had made copies, and I think I just have paper copies of a folder. This was when it was still in Montreat. I found a folder of stuff about Munn, which is, I think, where I got maybe that autobiography thing that I shared with you.
Which is so great.
Yeah, but yeah, I know. I just came across that, and I forgot I had it. But there was stuff, and then I came across some stuff online, which I've got to find out where I put that on my computer, about these little newsletters they would write about what they were doing in Cuba. And also in that material from the archives, I found stuff about John Henry Davis and his father. They were both Presbyterian ministers. And at that time, I hadn't known that. When I discovered that, I didn't know anything about Munn's grandfather, our great-great-grandfather, who was a Presbyterian minister. And he was from, I don't know if it was West Virginia at the time. It probably was that part of Virginia that became West Virginia. So there was a little bit about him, but there's this whole, generation. Yeah.
And what do we know about, so we have John Henry Davis, his father is a preacher.
John Henry Davis.
And what about his father? What do we know?
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't have that part yet.
Yeah. Well, that is, so that's great. I want to start nosing around to see if I can get online privileges with some of these, sources. So Columbia Seminary, that would be great. I didn't,
It depends. They don't have a whole lot online. They have a little.
I also saw that there is a big cache of information in Pennsylvania. Maybe there's a Presbyterian.
Oh, yeah. There's because, you know, there was a split. Yeah, there's a Presbyterian archive up there too.
Right, and it might have some, who knows? Who knows?
Mhm. Yeah, it does.
But you know, so we are, the girls, you know, and I, for some reason, am interested in Mun's life and my mother's and all these women who are on the Davis side. My mom, who would cop to the fact and speak like you, Mary, about, you know, it really stinks to be a teenage girl when there are no boys around, and, you know, crushes and falling in love. This is all a big part of a girl's life. So it's so interesting, you know, what was up for Mun? You know, I love in her little autobiography that she speaks so warmly about the Cuban people, you know, because there's that sentence in there about what warm, lovely people they are. And I thought, boy, was there a romance there? Did she, you know, just what was the juice? We'll never know. But
well, maybe it was just that she had that adventure in her.
I think that really might be the case. That certainly it feels like it's in the Davis line, you know, adventurous women. Boy, in that generation, and you, I mean, you guys were all like, shut up, move over, we're working women, families, yes, we're doing it all.
Well, I just thought when my mom just decided to go to Philadelphia.
Amazing.
I mean,
amazing.
Yeah.
You guys.
Well, going back to Florida was sort of dead end. I mean, Ocala in particular.
There you go.
Yeah. Mom felt,
and it was New York, Baltimore, or Philadelphia, and I thought Baltimore's boring. New York's a bit much, so we went to Philadelphia.
Philadelphia's just
right. And we found a little southern enclave in West Philadelphia. I kept running into people I'd been in college with.
Love it.
So it was wonderful.
Does either of you know the address where you lived in West Philadelphia?
It was a tree state.
Maple.
No.
Cherry? Walnut.
Walnut. No, Walnut wasn't the street I lived on. Chestnut. I think I lived on Chestnut.
Well, has anybody Googled the street to see if the building's still there? I think we got to do that.
Oh, it was we lived in a house.
Uh-huh.
And this is where you and Aunt Jean lived there?
We lived in a house, and then we moved into, I forget, we lived in an apartment later.
Uh-huh.
Now, you told me about living above Smokey Joe's.
Yeah.
That was the apartment, huh?
Yeah. That was fun.
I bet it was. And what were those years? 1904, what? Where were we? Ish?
I finished in 47, so.
But then you went to Birmingham for 2 years to do your medical technology.
Yeah. So it'd be probably
right.
49.
49, 50, right in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. I'm going to see if I can Google Smokey Joe's. Wouldn't it be cool if there's a picture of that? That's completely.
Yeah. Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
That'd be super fun. If I find it, we'll share.
Yeah. If I can find some, these city directories, I know they have them on Ancestry, which I'm not subscribing to right now, but there might be some other places that have the city directories, and you can look and find,
Right.
I don't know if it'd be hard. I'd have to know the street address. There's some place where I thought I saw this street address, at least some place where you lived in Philadelphia.
Well, 2 stories. I mean, Aunt Mary, when I saw you last in the summer, I went straight up to see my sister in Rhode Island, and she had found, I had never seen, a photograph of my father's grandfather, who was the Irishman, the McTigue from Ireland. So
Oh,
he had a picture, and incredibly, the picture had an address in Holyoke, Massachusetts. So this is where
Oh.
he came to from Ireland. Well, by God, I got in my rental car. So this was after having such fun talking to you guys about Davis history. I just drove myself right to that address. Holyoke is like much of New England is ruined industry. So this was a huge industrial town that just is in total poverty. And so it's being reclaimed by new immigrants, particularly Spanish immigrants. So I drive right to the block. I don't care. I get out. It's little funky little houses, and there's a grass plot because it was fun. The neighborhood homeless guy said, "Can I help you?" I wasn't alone. There were lots of nice people around working their yards. The homeless guy says, "Can I help you?" I thought, well, what the heck? So I explained. He says, "Oh, I know, just who knows?" And he literally walked me to the lawn. There was a little business, and the secretary at the business knew the history of the block. So
Oh.
she told me all about the building where my great-grandfather had lived, and that it eventually had burned, and they had pictures of the fire. And so it was kind of a magical, but I really, I don't know why, but just seeing the place kind of kills me. So I hope we can dig up some of this Philadelphia, because I'd like to see where you guys lived. I really would.
Yeah, I've got some photos somewhere that I need to dig those up and digitize those, because there was something that had an address on it, and I'm not sure which. I know you probably lived in several places, Mama, but it was one of the places, because I think you were taking pictures and sending them home.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You brave young women. I just want to see anything I can about that stuff. It's
Well, that it made it easier because there were two of us, you see.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just so Tom, my husband is just retired. So he's going through his papers 2 days ago. He finds the handwritten family, his mother's people were Canadian, and they came through the Orkney Islands, but we didn't know any of this. Handwritten takes the family right back to 1465 to the Vikings that came to the Orkney Islands. So like 2 days ago, he got the full picture, naming the island, I don't know, from the Orkney
Now,
Islands.
where are the Orkney Islands?
So they're, great question, I had to look all this up. So they are northwest of Scotland. They're part of Scotland, but they're stuck up in that cold, they're just rocks with a few sheep and some moss. That's about it. Of course, they were important at various moments, very, very important for Vikings and people who were coming east, right? So they were used by Neolithic people, and then the Vikings came through. And then my husband's people, at a certain point, when they started jumping from there to the Americas, they came over to Prince Edward Island.
Yeah.
That's where they ended up. And a lot of Prince Edward Island people are Orkneyan. But coming back now to the Orkneys, they were important in the wars because airplanes could land there,
Yeah.
back and forth. But other than that, I found on YouTube, they're so remote and so rocky. And of course, my husband's people were the northernmost, completely useless little island. But they brought sheep to that island. There's nothing to eat there. So they're the only sheep that anybody knows on the planet that survive on seaweed. So
really?
lots of sheep that
Wow.
eat seaweed.
Mandy, I think I have a neighbor. This couple, they're friends of ours, and maybe I'm remembering wrong. His family's from Canada, and I swear he told me that his one line comes from the Orkney Islands.
Anybody with link letter, so this was a big swath of people, so we probably are related.
Yeah.
And you got to connect with the Quaker folks,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Was that a good visit?
Yeah. Well, that was interesting because that Tom side is both Southern and Quaker.
Right.
The Tom name was actually from Virginia, and that was like Southern plantation, and married a Quaker family, the Millers. And what was interesting is some of my cousins didn't know about that Southern part. They did not. They were very
You filled
Quaker.
in.
Well, yeah, we got filled in because we had their father. I have a cousin, Margaret, and her sister Rachel. Their father had kept all these things. He had inherited these farm journals that lists names of slaves.
I remember.
And birth dates.
Yeah.
And they weren't aware of it. I mean, they had kind of kept this stuff, thankfully, but it was me and another cousin who had visited their dad when, they had grown up and gone off, and we just happened to decide to go visit, cousin Bill. I'd really never met him before. And that's when he started showing us all this stuff. And we were like, wow. And that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so
you're going to help get those to a library, I remember you saying.
Well, yeah, we're working on that. We did a lot of, our visit in last May, it's been a year, we did a lot of digitizing. And thankfully, one of my dad's first cousins, Elizabeth, was still alive at that time. She was 90. She wanted to come, and she came out and she went walking with us, and she kind of recorded her story, and she just passed away a couple months ago.
Oh.
So I was so thankful I got to meet her.
Yes.
And then that we got to record a lot of her story.
Yes. Wow.
Was she older or younger than Daddy?
Oh, she was a lot younger than Daddy.
Mm.
She was just 90 last year. So,
yeah. How old would Miller be now? He was much older then. I've forgotten that.
Yeah, he'd be like 103.
He's 8 years older than me. I'm 93.
Or 94.
93 going on 53. What can I tell you? I mean, look at you.
Yeah.
You look so cute.
Yeah, I think he was like 12 years older than Elizabeth.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
she didn't really know him very well.
Yeah.
But I have...
When I think about our memories, sometimes I think that your memories of being a child, Mary, might very well be quite similar to mine and to yours, Margaret, because we were all walking on that same De Vista porch, and we had our elders around us and our cousins, and in a funny way, they all blur together, which is kind of wonderful. Not everybody has that.
Yeah. Nowadays, families are sort of scattered.
Right. And to have that gathering ground where we were walking the same ground that our grandfather and our great-grandfather walked, pretty amazing. Wow. Being just as hot in the summer, smacking off the mosquitoes and drinking lemonade, no difference between the generations. We all had exactly the same experience in Montreat. Maybe the plumbing was a little better, but not that much better.
No, still the hard water. And
then
a
huge.
I don't know the plumbing, because we stayed in a rented house there, and there wasn't any hot water. So, and remember, Margaret, we rented that house in Montreat.
When was?
I went with you and Norman.
Oh, when we stayed out right outside of Mountain.
Oh,
we stayed in a house in Montreat.
Oh yeah, just recently. You didn't have hot water?
No, and well, by the time I got to the shower, there wasn't hot water.
Oh, maybe.
And I thought, I wish we'd stayed in a motel outside Montreat.
I remember my family still talks about, because we rented. I was, I think, in college or high school when Mom bought the house. So all the rest of those summers, those were rentals.
Well, I was out of college and working before Mother and Daddy bought a house.
Right.
In Ocala. Yeah.
Right. In Ocala. Right. Yeah. No, I remember rental in Montreat where the toilet had been placed on a throne, it was a purple toilet and it had it was up on this gold pedestal thing, which we couldn't stop talking about as kids. All the kooky people there. But it's, and the other thing that features for me as I speak to people exactly my age is that because it was Montreat, the other thing that we shared is there wasn't any good reception even at my age. So my childhood was more like your childhood, Mary, than most people my age.
Yeah, because you didn't have television.
No TV and not much in the way of radio, because
Mhm.
the radio reception was terrible. It was live music. It wasn't that different. And I just cherish that. That is so lucky. Wow.
Yeah. I just remember being able to just walk around as a kid and
Well, the idea that kids could go out at night and come home by themselves with nothing more than a little flashlight because the streets weren't lighted.
No lights. That is beyond. And to do that as a girl,
Mhm.
it's just extraordinary. And I remember it spooky walking home alone in the dark with really, really the dark. You're right, Mary. And so you had that experience as a girl, and I had that experience as a girl. That's really wonderful. It's really, really different. Yeah. I think it's why it's fun. I get both a picture of things that I could never have experienced, like being loaded on the lumber truck to be driven up to Montreat, but also that we have a similar memory about what that place is like and who those people were. It's very cool. Well, you guys, we should go. It's kind of blinking at me on this side.
Yeah.
okay.
But we
Yeah,
should
well, we
do this,
can
like every couple of weeks. Why the heck not? And if anybody
Yeah.
gets, restless or bored or needs a little chit chat, let's do it.
Yeah, and have your husband around sometime.
I will,
Yeah.
because Mary, you haven't met Tom, right?
No, I
Okay.
have.
I haven't met him.
Okay, today was Costco day, but we'll do that. We'll get him in here waving at you guys. Now that he knows he is descended from the Vikings, he's so
yeah.
pleased with himself.
Is he real blonde?
No, he's a dark. Well, now he's gray, but a very dark guy. But like all guys, he has a romantic idea about the Vikings, so that worked out great.
Well,
Right.
goodbye, everybody.
I'm hugging all of you guys, and we'll see you
Thank you.
soon. Okay.
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 Bye.
Bye.
I punch leave, Margaret.
Yeah, click on leave.